What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 best poker tips to win at poker every single time, or almost every single time. Just do this, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so nobody wins at poker every single time. You already knew that, but these tips in this video are going to help you start winning a lot more consistently, so let's talk about it right now. First off, you need to know what hands to play. So guys, you should know by memory what kind of hands you should be playing in both a 6-player poker game and a 9-player poker game. I've included charts on your screen here to give you a rough idea. I do want to point out that these charts are not the word of God. I am not some sort of immortal poker being. I know the be-all end-all of what hands to play in all situations. These are just a rough guide to go by. The top 20% of hands in a 6-max poker game and the top 15% of hands in a 9-player poker game. I think if you stick to the hands in red on these charts below, you're going to have a strong mathematical advantage going into each poker hand. The next thing you want to do is get max value with your big hands. Guys, pros don't leave money on the table. That's what amateurs do, because they know that big hands don't come around very often, and therefore it is absolutely imperative that you get the maximum value every single time. Let's give you some examples right here. Number 1, the pro raises up ace king offsuit, ace of diamonds, king of clubs, fish calls, flop comes down with an ace of hearts, 10 of spades, 9 of spades. What does the pro do? The pro bets big. Let's talk about the amateur on the other hand. Amateur raises the exact same hand, same player fish calls, same flop. What does the amateur do? The amateur player checks. Guys, this is a catastrophe for your win rate at the poker table because you're literally leaving money on the table. Talked about in these videos many times before that most poker players, especially in small stakes games, which is what 90% of people play, like to call too much. And therefore, when you just check in a situation like this and allow them to just draw out on you for free, get a bunch of free cards, go down to the river, see what happens, you're literally just inviting yourself to get a so-called bad beat. But more importantly, guys, you're just leaving all sorts of money on the poker table. Let's look at this board right here. Ace of hearts, 10 of spades, 9 of spades. Guys, there's numerous straight draws, flush draws. If they have any hand, like a king queen, for example, that's a gut shot straight draw. If they got a jack 8, that's an open-ended straight draw. If they've got a 7-8, that's an open-ended straight draw. If they've got any 2 spades in their hand, they have a flush draw, and we do not block that hand because we do not have a spade in our hand, meaning that mathematically it's more likely that they might have a spade draw. So guys, there are numerous reasons why you should be betting in this situation here. Number 1, don't let them draw out on you for free. Number 2, charge players at the lower stakes who love to call anyways. I've said my piece. Let's move on to point number 3, and that is pros always game select. Guys, poker pros never sit in a random poker game. That again is something that amateur poker players do. No, what professional poker players do instead is they scout the opposition first. They're looking for things like limping, bad calls, going on tilt, all sorts of things that mostly amateur poker players do. Making bad bluffs is another one. I've talked about that a lot in the videos here on the channel. By the way, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss my new videos. And if you play online poker, luckily this is even easier. You can just use a HUD. You can look for the players with a VPIP of 40% or more. I've also talked about that in videos many times on this channel. Just use a program like Poker Tracker. I'll have links for that in the description below. But bottom line, guys, amateurs just sit down and play in any poker game these days and they wonder why they don't succeed in poker. Guys, it's just a simply foolish approach in today's competitive poker environment to not do any kind of scouting or anything for who's actually sitting at your table. You know, I've compared this to business and investing before in these videos many times. You wouldn't choose to just invest randomly in some company, some stock, some crypto without doing any kind of research. So why would you ever choose to play in a game of poker without seeing who's actually at your poker table? Because that's the number 1 difference between you winning or losing. All right, let's move on to point number 4, and that is that pros don't make bad bluffs. Guys, a good bluff tells a believable story. Pros tell stories that make sense. Amateurs tell stories that make no sense. Let's give you an example here. You raise up ace 3 of clubs in early position and a tag calls you on the button. Flop comes down with a jack of hearts, 6 of clubs, 4 of diamonds. You bet, they call. Turn comes with a king of spades. What should you do? guys, you should be betting again here. This is something that I talk about in all 3 of my poker books, and I have multiple videos in my brand new Elite Poker Training University, which is 17 plus hours of advanced poker training. I'll include links to all of that in the description below. But guys, the bottom line here is that our line makes sense in this situation. Hopefully you guys have a rough idea of why. Number one, we raised in early position. That typically signals a strong hand. Often hands that have a jack in them have a king in them. So we are able to represent those cards very credibly on this board. The other thing is the player type we're up against, which is a tag, tight and aggressive regular. I talk about in my new course and in my books as well, that these are the perfect players to bluff because they're often calling us lighter on the flop or even on the turn, but if you can apply significant pressure later on in the hand, often these players back down. So if we get a good board run out like this with a lot of high Broadway cards that are in our perceived range, when we raise pre-flop from early position, we can make confident bluffs that tell a believable story. Let's move on to the final poker tip to help you guys start winning a lot more quickly, which is to focus on the mental side of the game. Guys, the biggest mistake that people make in today's games is that they focus 99% of their energy on learning strategy, how to play their ace king better in a 3-bet pot, how to play pocket eights when somebody's, betting into you on a flop of ace king 5. Guys, while this is all important to know, you need to understand the basic mechanics. By the way, you can just download my free poker cheat sheet, top link in the description below, to get my entire strategy for free. You can read it in an afternoon. But guys, what a lot of people don't understand these days is that the emotional side of the game that is getting frustrated, going on tilt, when you get a bunch of bad beats in a row, that is actually what keeps the vast majority of people from winning in poker. And the vast majority of poker players, just like game selection that we already talked about before, they do absolutely nothing for the mental side of their poker game. They do not spend any time thinking about how to control their emotions at the poker table. I've talked about before about how, for me, this is an entire holistic approach to the game. It starts well before I ever sit down at the poker table. It's about getting optimized sleep. It's about an optimized diet, regular exercise, meditation, so that I know that when I sit down to play you at the poker table, I'm going to be in peak mental state. I'm going to keep my emotional cool better than the average player at the poker table when they get a bunch of bad beats just like I do. Guys, the bottom line is you need to understand that the mental game of poker is at least half the battle in today's games. In fact, I would say it's more like 90%. Real poker players understand that mental toughness is the key to success these days because the games are competitive. Most people know how to play poker decently well these days. Where they don't play well is when adversity strikes, when they get a bunch of bad beats, coolers, setups, and the like. Often a bunch of these all in a short period of time. They crack, they go on tilt, they throw all their money away, and that's why they don't win at poker. So if you can spend even 10% of your time focusing on the mental side of the game rather than the strategy side, which everyone already knows, this is where you're going to find the real big edges in today's games. I've said it before, guys, if you go up to the higher stakes games these days, most of the best players in the world, they don't actually know more from a strategic level how to play their cards at the poker table. Where they're better than everyone else is they don't take bad beats and setbacks personally. You're never going to see them in the comment section whining about bad beats. They know better than that, and that's why they succeed at this game. So guys, those are my 5 best poker tips. Make sure you like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And also, once again, grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. And I think that will help you guys out some more. Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.